In a desperate plea, James proposed a new pact, a pact of redemption. He offered to break the cycle of sacrifice by finding an alternative source of vitality for the land. The harvester, intrigued by the audacity of the proposal, hesitated. James, guided by an innate connection to the farm, began researching ancient rituals and agricultural practices that could revive the land without bloodshed. As he delved into forgotten texts and consulted with experts, he unearthed an ancient technique that promised renewal without the stain of death. The Weatherstones, torn between their fear of the harvester and their desire for salvation, reluctantly agreed to James's plan. The farm became a crucible of ancient and modern knowledge as the rituals unfolded under the watchful eyes of the harvester. The night of the ritual arrived, casting an eerie glow across the fields. James, surrounded by the Weatherstones and the farmhands, began the intricate ceremony. The air hummed with energy as the ancient and the modern collided in a desperate bid for redemption. As the final words were spoken, the harvester's presence waned and an unexpected stillness settled over the farm. The once menacing shadows retreated and a profound sense of relief washed over James and the Weatherstones. The following morning, as the first light kissed the rejuvenated fields, the curse that had plagued Weatherstone Farm for generations seemed to lift. The air was filled with the sweet scent of thriving crops, and the farm stood as a testament to James's courage and the redemption of the Weatherstone legacy. But as James looked over the now prosperous fields, he couldn't shake the feeling that the harvester, though momentarily subdued, lingered in the shadows, patiently awaiting its next opportunity to reclaim what it believed was rightfully its own. The tale of Weatherstone Farm, a dance between darkness and redemption, would echo through the ages, a cautionary tale for those who dared to tamper with ancient forces that lurked in the heart of the land. The wind whispered through the dense cornfields as Terry gazed out over his newly acquired farmstead. It was a secluded place, tucked away from the hustle and bustle of the town. Terry had dreamt of this for years, a peaceful life away from the chaos of the city. As Terry settled into his quaint farmhouse, strange occurrences began to unfold. Late at night, eerie sounds echoed across the fields. Whispers, footsteps, and unexplained shadows haunted the corners of his vision. Initially dismissing them as mere figments of his imagination, Terry carried on with his daily routines, tending to the crops and animals. One gloomy evening, as Terry strolled through the rows of corn, he stumbled upon an ancient-looking well concealed beneath the overgrown weeds. Drawn by an inexplicable force, he peered into its depths. The darkness seemed to swallow the feeble glow of his flashlight, and for a moment, Terry felt a shiver run down his spine. Ignoring the uneasy feeling, Terry focused on uncovering the farm's secrets. Each day, he discovered more about the land's history, tales of past owners who mysteriously vanished, and rumors of a hidden cellar holding untold horrors. The more he delved, the more the farm seemed to resist, as if the very soil held a malevolent force. Terry's obsession grew. Sleepless nights led to dark circles under his eyes as he pored over old documents, seeking clues about the farm's ominous past. The whispers persisted, now more audible, mocking him with secrets he couldn't comprehend. One stormy night, the farm seemed to come alive. Thunder rumbled ominously as shadows danced in the fields. Terry, compelled by an unseen force, followed the ghostly apparitions to the ancient well. It emitted an otherworldly glow, and the whispers intensified, forming a chilling harmony that echoed in the night. As Terry peered into the well, a vision unfolded before him. The farm, decades ago, was a site of unspeakable rituals. A cult had thrived here, sacrificing innocents to appease a malevolent force residing in the soil. The well was a gateway to the netherworld, and the spirits of the sacrificed lingered, seeking release. Haunted by the revelations, Terry confronted the spectral figures. Desperation and fear gripped his heart as he attempted to communicate with the tormented souls. The well, now a portal between the living and the dead, unleashed a torrent of shadows that swept across the farm. Terry, caught in the maelstrom, felt the boundary between worlds blur. As the shadows enveloped Terry, he found himself in a nightmarish realm. The air was thick with an oppressive darkness, and twisted figures lurked in the shadows. Despair clung to him like a suffocating fog. In this spectral dimension, Terry encountered the malevolent force that had plagued the farm for decades. A grotesque entity, born from the anguish of the sacrificed, hungered for more souls. Terry, now a reluctant conduit, struggled to resist the entity's influence. Back on the farmstead, the physical world mirrored the supernatural chaos. Crops withered, animals howled in agony, and the farmhouse groaned under the weight of the malevolent presence. Townsfolk, sensing the growing darkness, avoided the area like a plague. Driven by an inner strength, Terry fought against the entity's control. With each resisted temptation, he chipped away at the darkness that gripped his soul. The spirits of the sacrificed, sensing his determination, rallied around him, aiding in the struggle against the malevolent force. In a final desperate confrontation, Terry faced the entity at the well. The battle between light and shadow reached its climax, and the very fabric of reality seemed to unravel. As the first light of dawn broke on the horizon, the malevolent force was banished, and the tortured spirits found peace. Exhausted and scarred by the ordeal, Terry emerged from the spectral realm. The farm, once a haven of shadows, now bathed in the soft morning light, seemed transformed. The whispers ceased, and the air held a newfound serenity. As Terry surveyed the land, he knew the farm's dark secrets were finally put to rest. The well, no longer a gateway to the netherworld, stood silent and forgotten. The town, unaware of the supernatural struggle that had unfolded, continued its daily affairs, and Terry, forever changed by the ordeal, embraced the tranquility that had eluded him for so long. Despite the apparent calm that settled over the farm, Terry couldn't shake off the feeling that the shadows lingered, casting a perpetual gloom over the fields. The townsfolk remained oblivious to the supernatural battles fought on their doorstep, going about their lives as if untouched by the darkness that had gripped the farm. Haunted by the memories of the malevolent force, Terry continued to tend to his crops, repair the farmhouse, and care for the animals. The scars of the supernatural ordeal manifested not only on the farm, but also within him. Sleepless nights persisted, filled with vivid nightmares that echoed the tortured whispers of the spirits. One day, as Terry worked in the fields, he stumbled upon an old journal hidden in the remnants of a decaying shed. The journal belonged to a previous owner, detailing their own encounters with the supernatural on the farm. It spoke of unexplained phenomena, strange sightings, and the unshakable feeling of being watched. The more Terry read, the clearer it became that he was not the first to confront the malevolent force. The cycle of darkness had repeated itself, ensnaring each unsuspecting owner in its web. The journal hinted at a curse, an ancient pact that bound the farm to the netherworld, and Terry realized that breaking this curse was the key to true liberation. Armed with newfound knowledge, Terry delved into the town's archives, seeking any information about the origins of the curse. The more he uncovered, the darker the revelations became. The cult that had once thrived on the farm had made a pact with a malevolent deity, trading innocent lives for unnatural prosperity. Determined to break the curse, Terry consulted with local historians, spiritual leaders, and anyone willing to share information about the farm's sordid past. Together, they uncovered a ritual, long forgotten, that could sever the ties between the farm and the netherworld. The ritual required a gathering at the well, an offering of remorse and redemption, and a plea for forgiveness from the tormented spirits. As Terry prepared for the ritual, he faced skepticism and opposition from the townsfolk, who remained blissfully ignorant of the supernatural forces at play. Undeterred, Terry assembled a small group of believers who had witnessed the farm's transformation. As the night fell, they gathered at the well, surrounded by the looming cornfields and the silent farmhouse. Terry, holding the ancient journal, began the ritual, invoking the spirits and pleading for their release. As Terry recited the words of the ritual, a palpable energy filled the air. The well, once a conduit of darkness, now glowed with a soft, ethereal light. Whispers of gratitude replaced the tormented cries, and the shadows retreated, as if acknowledging the redemption sought by the gathered assembly. The townsfolk, drawn by an unseen force, approached the farmstead. Unable to resist the supernatural pull, they watched in awe as the ritual unfolded. The malevolent force, weakened by the collective resolve of those seeking redemption, recoiled in the face of the newfound unity. With a final plea for forgiveness, Terry cast the remnants of the curse into the well. A blinding light erupted, engulfing the farmstead in a radiant glow. The malevolent force, now severed from its hold on the land, dissipated into the night, leaving behind a newfound sense of tranquility. As the first light of dawn broke, the townsfolk, now free from the supernatural influence, returned to their homes, their memories fogged by a gentle amnesia. The farm, once shrouded in darkness, stood bathed in the warmth of the morning sun. Terry, though forever marked by the shadows he had faced, found solace in the knowledge that he had broken the cycle. The well, no longer a portal to the netherworld, stood silent, and the farmstead held a promise of a peaceful future. The tormented spirits, finally at rest, whispered their gratitude in the rustling leaves, a gentle breeze carrying away the remnants of a haunting past. In the heart of rural Kentucky, nestled between rolling hills and vast expanses of farmland, stood the Weatherstone Farm. A quaint farmhouse overlooked acres of cornfields that stretched beyond the horizon. James Thornton, a young agricultural student, eagerly accepted an internship at the farm to gain hands-on experience. Little did he know, the seemingly idyllic setting concealed a dark secret. James arrived at Weatherstone in early spring, greeted by Mr. and Mrs. Weatherstone, an elderly couple with weathered faces that hinted at a lifetime of hard work. The sprawling fields whispered with the rustle of crops swaying in the wind, creating an eerie symphony that unsettled James. As days turned into weeks, James immersed himself in the daily routines of the farm. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Whispers among the farmhands hinted at strange occurrences during the night, mysterious shadows moving among the cornstalks, and eerie sounds that echoed through the darkness. One evening, curiosity got the better of James. Armed with a flashlight, he ventured into the fields, guided only by the moonlight. As he moved deeper, the air grew thick with tension. The rustling of leaves intensified, and the shadows seemed to dance in sinister patterns. In the distance, James noticed a dilapidated barn that stood isolated from the rest. The creaking door swung open as if inviting him in. Hesitant but driven by an unexplainable force, James entered the dimly lit barn. The air inside was suffocating, and the scent of decay hung thick. Amidst the dim light, James stumbled upon an old ledger. Its yellowed pages reveal the history of the Weatherstone farm, stained with tales of tragedy and loss. The Weatherstones had suffered a series of devastating crop failures over the years, leading to financial ruin. Desperation had driven them to make a pact with an enigmatic figure known as the Harvester. As James delved deeper into the ledger, the barn seemed to come alive with whispers, and the shadows began to converge. The Harvester, it seemed, demanded a sacrifice, a life for bountiful harvests. James felt a chill down his spine as he realized the ominous truth lurking beneath the facade of Weatherstone Farm. Determined to uncover the truth, James meticulously researched the farm's history. The more he discovered, the darker the secrets became. The Harvester, an ancient entity with roots buried deep in the soil of Weatherstone, demanded a soul every decade to ensure the prosperity of the land. Fueled by a mixture of fear and fascination, James couldn't resist the urge to confront the Weatherstones about their unholy pact. Late one night, he gathered his courage and approached the couple, who were unaware of his findings. With trepidation in his voice, James broached the subject. causing the elderly couple's faces to pale. Mrs. Weatherstone, with tear-filled eyes, confessed the family's desperate deal with the harvester. The farm had been cursed for generations, and they felt trapped, bound by an ancient pact that demanded blood in exchange for a thriving harvest. The realization sank in, leaving James torn between his moral compass and the ominous force that gripped the Weatherstone legacy. Haunted by the weight of the revelation, James continued his duties on the farm, torn between exposing the dark secret and sympathizing with the Weatherstones' predicament. As the days passed, the tension in the air thickened, and the whispers in the fields grew more ominous. One stormy night, the shadows on the farm seemed to take on a life of their own. James, unable to shake the feeling that the harvester was closing in, decided to confront the entity head-on. Armed with the knowledge he had acquired, he ventured into the heart of the fields, where an otherworldly presence awaited. In the midst of the cornstalks, a spectral figure materialized. The harvester, a sinister, hooded figure with glowing eyes, stared at James, revealing an ancient and insatiable hunger. The very essence of the farm seemed to pulse with malevolence as the harvester demanded a life to satiate the cursed soil. The confrontation with the harvester left James paralyzed with fear, but a spark of determination ignited within him. He couldn't allow the cycle of despair to persist. As the harvester extended its spectral hand, demanding a sacrifice, James boldly refused. In that moment, the very air around him crackled with an unseen force. The harvester, surprised by James's defiance, recoiled. A cryptic, ancient language echoed through the fields as a mysterious energy enveloped James, linking him to the very essence of the farm. As the words echoed, James felt a surge of power coursing through him. The field seemed to respond, as if the land itself rebelled against the harvester's grasp. The once ominous shadows now writhed in discomfort.